Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest representing football is Mark Bosnich. He has had an incredible career. He left Australia as a 16-year-old in 1988 to join Manchester United, the biggest football club in the world. He stayed there did his apprenticeship there, stayed there until 1992 when he joined Aston Villa, played 227 games for the Midlanders, became one of the great goalkeepers of the early days of the English Premier League, transferred back to Manchester United in 1999, over 30 appearances for the great club, winning the English Premier League title by 18 points in 99-2000, and of course kept a clean sheet in the Intercontinental Cup match for Manchester United to win the World Club Trophy for the very first time. Spent time at Chlesea, spent time in the doldrums, and has been able to pick himself up. Is now an analyst on Fox Sports and Sky Sports Radio, a keen follower of the game of football. Turned out 17 times for the Socceroos. Would love to have done it many more times. Yeah, back you go, Bozza, sit down. This is good. 4 games for the Central Coast Mariners and unlimited knowledge and passion for the game of football. Please welcome Mark Bosnich.
Thank you, Jimmy. Wow.
Welcome, mate.
Wow, what an introduction that was.
Hey, if AFL is rock and roll, what's football?
Football is drama, pure and simple.
Different genre, there you
go. Sometimes the drama is to people's taste and sometimes it's not. I think, especially in the English-speaking countries, we do have a little bit of a problem with the diving, selling it to the general population. And for some of the little idiosyncrasies that go on in football are a little bit difficult to explain. But I think with time, and also like the Premier League is, for me, the most watchable league in the world. And one of the reasons it's the most watchable league in the world is because the players are the most honest. And I think that's what we need to think about when we're talking about selling the game here in Australia.
Oh, yeah, the English Premier League is massive in Australia. Before we get to talking about club football in England and the effect that had on England in the World Cup, let's talk about Australia in the World Cup. A great effort in 2006 and, of course, much anticipation for 2010. Completely unravelled Game 1 against Germany. Now, I know you have very strong opinions on this. Where was the issue for the Socceroos, or where do you start with the issues for the Socceroos there?
Well, funny enough, and that was in view of today, I went to speak to somebody who was actually there on the scene last night. It was the assistant manager, well, the ex-assistant manager, Graham Arnold. And he pretty much pinpointed exactly what we all thought. There was problems behind the scenes, and they had it coming. I think for over 2 years, they didn't play to the ability or the level that they set in 2006. And I think the team become a myriad of different people wanting different things and become a little bit of a circus. And I think at the highest level, and that would be in any sport, when there are problems underlying, you can only cover them for so long. And that's probably in any industry as well. And it will come out in the wash. And in our sport, the wash is on the biggest stage in the biggest games. You can get away with it against Asian teams. You can get away with it against even some of the lesser European and South American sides. You can't get away with it against the very best. And Germany is one of the very best sides, and they ruthlessly exposed what was going on. And then we saw against Ghana and Serbia, you know, what a disaster that first game was, because if we just lost even 2-0 that first game, we would have went through and we would have had a far easier draw. And you saw Ghana were basically very unlucky not to reach the semi-finals, and it was disappointing. And I think also one of the great lessons we should take out of it is the fact that the Australian public reacted in a way that probably the soccer fraternity have never seen before, in that they were very vociferous in the way they criticised the team. And I think the football fraternity, or soccer fraternity, if you want to call it that, should take that as a compliment in a way, because there was a time when a result like that would go unnoticed.
Yeah, it's a good point. The football aside in South Africa, whether that was good or bad or indifferent, we don't need to mention. What we do need to mention was the carnival that was South Africa. So, you know, it's hard to get, you know, AFL is played solely in Australia. Sorry to tell you. Sorry to tell you.
Are you trying to divide and conquer here, Jimmy?
Well, I'm just, you know.
Nothing wrong with soul.
You were there. You were there in South Africa as an analyst for Fox Sports, but to see the melting pot that came together, the unbelievable spirit of the tournament, that must have been an overwhelming impression on you.
It did. I'd be lying if I said that the football was overwhelming. I thought the football during the tournament was actually quite disappointing on the whole. But as an event and as a place to visit, I actually went to South Africa on an end-of-season trip in 1994. At that time, Nelson Mandela had just been elected as the first black president of South Africa. The country was basically had the same feeling that I had when I was in the former Yugoslavia just before that broke up into civil war. That was the feeling in the country then. So take it on 16 years, I went there with those thoughts still in my mind, and to be honest, it was a real eye-opener. The people were just so much more relaxed. The truth and reconciliation process that they had in that country because of the apartheid system obviously had worked. The people who had suffered the most under apartheid, which were the blacks, had no malice in them whatsoever. They were very forgiving, and they were very proud to have visitors from all around the world to visit their great country and to show, not in a vengeful manner, but in a way to say, look, this is what we went through, and it was very painful, and we lost a lot, but we reconciled, and it was a great example for life in general, and we're happy now to be living as one South Africa, and I think that was the most wonderful thing that I took from that trip.
Football and social commentator Mark Bosnich, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Sponsor.
Oh, it's important. It really
absolutely, absolutely.
It is a big. My father originally came from this country, from Croatia, which was then Yugoslavia, and I saw what that type of hatred and vengeance and that type of cycle can do to a country. So for those people to go through as much as anyone's gone through probably throughout the history of time, and to come out the other end and to have no hatred and to reconcile and to have no malice in them, I think is a fantastic achievement. They truly did deserve the World Cup, and they put on a fantastic event. There was a lot of talk in the media beforehand about the security, but I've got to say the security was absolutely fine.
Speaking very eloquently about the game of football, please thank Mark Bosnich.
Thank you.